All right, guys, welcome to the second episode of the Olympian Project podcast. Today we got some interesting topics. But first and foremost, I just want to let you guys know that we are on iTunes, we are on Spotify, and we are on YouTube. So wherever you're listening, if there's a preferred platform you have, be sure to go check those out. For the members in-house, we do have a little segment at the end of this podcast talking about in-house statistics during the Open and our Open team comp. So if you are an in-house member, be sure to stick around to the end of the podcast to check that out.
Okay. Has it been a minute?
Go ahead. We're good. We're rolling.
We are here, Justin Ellis,
And Garrett Wiley.
the Olympian Project.
Oh, yeah.
Really the first true episode.
Real episode. It's going to be a
We've-
lot more interesting, I think, this episode.
Yeah, we did the pilot. We had to do the explanation, the description episode.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to really be able to dive into not only the topics, but our own personalities. And I'm really excited to get to know you better.
Yeah,
Garrett.
because we don't know each other well enough.
No.
Clearly.
I mean, this is going to be exciting. And the first thing not only I want to learn more about, but I think the listeners might be interested in knowing is that you've never seen Star Wars.
No,
Not
I've never seen Star
movie.
Wars. I've seen a lot of old movies. You know, my favorite movie ever is Karate Kid, but Star Wars is never one that I've gotten into.
So he says old movies, which I agree. They are old movies, but not one Star Wars, not original Star Wars.
And that, I mean, I'm just not a sci-fi guy. I don't really like sci-fi movies. And it's not that, like, I love superhero movies. And, when I was a kid, Harry Potter was a big thing growing up.
Yeah, you
But
always
Star
reminded
Wars
me of Harry Potter a little bit.
Never came into question. All right, so
Well,
what are we talking about today?
No. We're not off of that yet because that also flows into a little bit of like we were talking about this earlier, like the music and what is out there and what's not out there. And of course, Star Wars is 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking like rock alternative in the 90s and early 2000s was pretty good. Where's that all at? You're in this group of people. Where is the rock and roll?
Well, I mean, and I don't know how it was growing up for you. Was everybody listening to rock?
Well,
was that just like when you were hanging
because-
out with friends, you put on AC/DC or
Sure, because I mean we had pagers and texts cost like 25 cents each time, so you didn't text anybody. You didn't definitely have music on your phone. And you had maybe like a cassette player that you recorded off the radio. Hip hop was just starting and probably making its print about the time I was growing up in the 90s. So I don't know. I just felt like the music's a little different now.
It is. I mean, the kids now, it's hip hop and R&B. I do like listening to that music. It's Post Malone. It's my favorite artist easily, but I do also like listening to rock. I think it's just it's not the cool thing to be sitting in class listening to an old AC/DC album.
I think if you're gonna listen to rock though, you gotta listen to the oldies but goodies. I mean, there's nobody I'm really listening to that's rock alternative.
I don't even know any rock bands that are popular right now. I know you said like Mumford and Sons.
Yeah, I'm a big Mumford and Sons and the Fray, but that's more like an indie folk rock or something. That's not even. There's no Nirvana, Pearl Jam kind of group that I know of. So here's a good test for the listeners. Like if you've got one out there, I'd like to know because I'm trying to. Well, I don't have a whole lot of time, but maybe this will help.
Yeah.
Be the best version of me as a music listener.
I like listening to different kinds. I listen to all kinds of music. Whatever I feel like listening to, I listen to.
Okay.
So,
well, that was
and if you hear any music in the background of this, that's Nick, our friend of the podcast.
Yeah, I think he's grunting a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're actually going to see Nick Sirac on a couple episodes.
He's definitely going to be a guest.
We've got some ideas. Even I don't want to release anything yet.
Not yet.
But we've got some good bonus content for our listeners and viewers. And the viewers, that might be the best way to see some of that bonus content because there's going to be a visual aspect to that. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So today, the theme of really what I'm calling episode 1 is trying something new.
Yeah. So for me, it'd be Star Wars. It'd be a
Right.
good thing to try.
Yeah,
which
that's a good
I might
segue.
have to do. You know,
You
Disney
might-
Plus just came out. All the Star Wars
All
movies are
the
on
Star Wars. There's first tip of the day.
them. Yeah, Disney
And
Plus.
we're going to be a lot about tips in the Olympian Project, and this is about maybe we got to go back a little bit if you didn't listen to the pilot episode.
Mm-hmm.
The Olympian Project, we're trying to be the best version of ourselves, and that's in any way of life, like not just CrossFit or working out. Like you might want to be a better person, you might need to watch Star Wars, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean,
You
is
might
there
learn
any
something.
life lessons in Star Wars that I'm not aware of?
Absolutely. You never go after a guy with one of those little electric wands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a pretty.
You lose a hand.
I like that.
Okay, I don't want to be a spoiler here, but just
I've
check
seen
it
the
out.
clips. I know.
Okay.
I know what happens in Star Wars.
All right, so a little bit of pop culture, but yeah, the theme today is trying something new, and I kind of start that off with like not holding yourself back because I think that's where a lot of people don't try something new is because they find every reason not to do it, you know. And a question that I like to start off like, what's holding you back? Like, I think you have to answer that question first before you can figure out how to do it. You know, like what is holding you back?
Yeah.
So again, when you're listening to this, I think everybody's got that one little thing that's stopping them, that crutch. And the first thing you got to ask yourself is, well, why wouldn't you? Like, what's holding you back?
Yeah.
So
I think that's a pretty good topic. I know you came to me with this topic and how we were going to implement it, and I think it's a great start to this podcast. Is you're going to learn new things in this, you know. So you're going to be trying new things throughout listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
As we learn, as you guys learn, there might be
Yeah.
things that you didn't realize might be extremely beneficial.
how many podcasts have you done in your life?
This would be it.
Right. So I think right now we're trying something new.
Yeah.
I've never done a podcast before. Had a lot of experience talking a lot.
Yeah.
But you know, this is going to be a new experience, and it's you know, it's not the something you just jump straight into without some thought.
Yeah.
So easily, we've had ideas, and I think that we talked about that in the last episode too. We've had ideas of something that we wanted to come up with and be able to attack in a project, right? And that's the Olympian project. But so many times something got in the way, and it stopped us.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like now we're going to give it a shot, and why not?
Yeah.
You know, I think that was, you know, something that we had to figure out. You got to put a plan down. You got to write some steps out. You know, so if we were talking about trying something new, you know, you need to figure out what that might be, and it can be an interest, right? I mean, you can something that you've always wanted to do, and maybe CrossFit's one of those things too, right?
Oh yeah.
So how do you try something new?
You gotta find something that you think would be fun and do it. I mean, and one great example is, you know, within our gym, we just wrapped up our CrossFit Willis soccer team.
Oh,
And we all know, the ones at the gym, we know how well that went. For the ones who aren't, it didn't go great.
It did not go as planned. That's for sure.
A lot of injuries. I
lot
think
of
you
injuries.
yourself had an injury.
I got a
within there.
little hamstring
Yeah,
strung.
little hammy.
Yeah, that didn't turn out too well for me.
So, I mean, overall, the soccer season didn't go great. But I think for the people who never played soccer before, I played soccer in high school. I know you never played soccer.
No, I never did.
I think they had fun. It was a learning experience athletically.
Right.
We found out that Justin here was an amazing goalie, and he'd never done that.
No,
Yeah.
I never had. No.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, who knows? Maybe I know your high school didn't have a soccer team, correct?
No, not when I was growing up. Just it's gonna go to sleep on you. Not when I was growing up. There was no soccer team at Willis High School here in Willis, Texas, and it honestly never crossed my radar at all.
And that's a perfect example of, you know, he tried something new, and it turns out he was great at it, just naturally, you know.
Yeah, great might be a little bit of a overstatement.
I mean, in our division, we considered you to be the best goalie, which it was like a recreational league.
Yeah, it was definitely a rec league. We went into it with the concept that it was a co-ed league at first, and so we built the team appropriately. We had guys and girls, and then we found out that they didn't feel the co-ed league, And so most of the teams we played had like maybe one girl on the team. And it's not that was the issue. Really, the issue was that we had so many people that never played. And we realized quickly that everyone out there had played.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there was other rules that in the co-ed league, you couldn't get physical with the girls like guys to girls or whatever, and that wasn't a case in this league. So not only not playing soccer ever, we got over, really just outplayed week to week. But to go back on trying something new, I've learned a lot about the athletes in the gym that participated. I learned a lot about myself, and oddly enough, just playing in a soccer league, what I'm going to be able to take from that moving forward, it's kind of the same thing that people go through their first experience in CrossFit or maybe a different fitness program. But if you're not testing the limits and being uncomfortable, even awkward, how are we expanding like on what, we're capable of doing?
No way to learn.
There's no way to learn, like expanding on our horizons.
Exactly. Yeah.
And without that, let's say I was unsuccessful at it. That's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I find something that I need to work on that's important to me, and now I know, and I can attack it without ever trying it, never putting a foot into the cleat and getting on the field. I would have never had that opportunity. And there's so many things like that you benefit from, especially like a team sport. Like that's not the only thing to try new, but the camaraderie, building and establishing those relationships with other people that maybe you didn't have in common, and now you have something in common, and I think that benefits too.
Yeah, no, and it's a learning experience for everyone. Playing soccer, and for our athletes, I haven't talked to them much about how how their experience was in the league, but maybe they want to go out and try new sports, and that is one of a big section of the 100 words. If you're familiar with CrossFit, Ben Bergeron gave basically a synopsis of CrossFit, and one part of that was playing and trying new sports. And it made me.
Well, that was Greg Glassman.
Greg Glassman, is that what I said?
You said Ben Bergeron.
Ben Bergeron, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to make sure we got that one right.
Yeah,
that would have been a big fill. You knew that though, Greg Glassman.
I knew that. Yeah. No, and it made me, as a soccer player who played soccer before, and seeing all these athletes try it for the first time, made me kind of want to try a new sport. I know we've talked about doing a softball league, which I think would be really fun. It's something I want to try.
How many have you ever played softball?
I never played baseball or anything.
Bat?
Swung bats.
Probably up here.
Plastic bats.
Okay, yeah.
I've never actually
at a ball or a person.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Okay. You're perfect. We can.
I have a little brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works out.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and this kind of goes outside. Of course, in CrossFit and the gym, like we're always saying, like try something new and dive into a different sport or activity, because we're talking about physical health. Like we want you to get active and get out there. But let's try to interpret this a little bit into everyday life. Maybe a job or something like that. Food. Okay, let's dive into food.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that can go a lot of different ways.
Exactly.
Okay. What new food have you tried lately?
It's kind of interesting I said that because what was it? It was last week, like Friday.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Friday.
no, and one of our members had brought up a little plate of sushi, and
oh yes, actually yes, this is good.
I stated right before that sushi was disgusting and I would never eat sushi.
But you said that without ever trying it.
True. Yeah,
right?
I never officially, stuck a piece of sushi in
and
my
let me
mouth.
pause this where it's going, because it's going to go somewhere really good here in a second. But that's where a lot of people. Now you learned something there that day, right?
Yeah.
What did you learn? Let's jump to that.
That sushi was disgusting.
Okay, but before you had tried it, you were saying it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And you had no clue,
yeah,
really.
That's true. Yeah.
You never tried it.
Mm-hmm.
It was an assumption. It was created out of thin air.
Yeah.
Maybe a friend or another person that's like, I don't like this. And you were letting.
For me, it was the smell for sure.
Well, there might have been some influence through the sushi itself. But you were letting other people and something that you picked up decide how you were going to live your life.
Yeah.
And I know this is small. This is sushi, and you can live without sushi. But can you live without an opportunity to change your life for the better. And if you let somebody that has never done something or tried something, or they tried it once, which is, I still suggest we got to dive into this more, decide on if you ever tried or not.
Yeah.
Like, you got to try something new. And what did you do? What did you do that day?
Well, I got peer pressured into.
You were influenced.
Yeah. I got peer pressured into trying the sushi, and I didn't expect it to go well. I knew.
You set yourself up for failure.
I did set myself up for failure a little bit, but as soon as that sushi, that nasty fish touched my mouth, I immediately started gagging.
Wow.
I think we have a video of that.
Yeah, we got a video of that, and we're gonna make sure that goes up on all platforms.
Totally.
So I'm excited. I did get a video of you trying sushi for the first time, and it honestly, guys, it is something worth seeing. But it's a great example of actually what we're talking about.
And just so we're clear, I did try sushi and I didn't like it, but there have been foods that I tried and I liked. There was a long time before I started CrossFit that I did not eat rice. I could not eat rice. I couldn't even put it in my mouth, basically.
Rice.
Yeah, rice.
And
I hated rice.
Now a rice eater?
I eat rice every day.
Well, there you go, guys. That's the perfect example of why you don't give up. Right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is a root of what we're talking about here, and that is just that. He found out sushi wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
And I think we're not saying try things to make it your thing.
Yeah.
We're saying try things so that you know for certain that that's not the route that you're supposed to go, or that's not something that you're interested in. And just like the podcast is kind of in its start, and we're trying something new, I think it's a perfect start for the podcast itself that, as we go along and we start saying, hey, this is something that you need to try. And again, we're not saying this is the answer or the solution to your problem. Mm-hmm. But if we can preface the whole project by saying, try something new, don't hold yourself back, then these opportunities that we're going to find week to week in this podcast are all going to kind of come together and be like, okay, this is what they're saying. Let's try it. Yeah. Because it may work for you, and it may not. And we can cross that one off the list as far as being a solution or not. So I think this is a great way to really start episode 1 outside the pilot episode and say, look, we're going to throw things out there. It might be an app. It might be a diet. It might be a fitness program. It might be a workout. But the only way we're going to find out is if we put this stuff to the test and try something new.
Exactly.
And again, the steps for me would be what's holding you back? Why? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you try that?
Yeah.
Now, if it puts your life in danger, I don't know. Maybe there's a reason, right? Maybe that's the reason why. But a lot of times, a piece of sushi, a workout with an instructor, facing a fear.
Yeah. That's a great one.
I wouldn't suggest people necessarily to go out and do something that puts themselves at risk.
Yes, and nothing illegal, of course.
Well, I mean, hold on. Let's back that up a little bit, because when you want something, we put ourselves at risk every day. Getting a car. I got a wreck right here in front of the gym, literally 150 meters away from the front entrance. And
you did?
Yeah, I got
really.
Yeah, I got rear-ended.
It's happened multiple times.
They're working on the construction right now because of that. But I was in my car, turning left, waiting on the oncoming traffic, and got rear-ended into the oncoming traffic. So I got hit twice. The point is, if I didn't get up that morning, get in the car, and go to work, and go do the new day, there's always that risk, right? To sit there and say you're not going to put yourself at risk trying something new, I don't know if I can say that 100%. There's going to be a challenge at some point.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I came out on the other side. No, I mean on this side. I'm still here. But it was a pretty scary experience, but I'm better for it and made it through. So, there is fears that you're going to approach, maybe in this podcast itself, following this project. Mm-hmm. So. Something also to talk about a little bit. I wanted this routine, habit, and breaking the mold. And so many times a routine can be a good thing and a bad thing. A habit,
for sure.
Yeah. We want to create some good ones and we want to break some bad ones. Is there anything that you found that helps you create a routine or create a new habit or get you away from one? Like what?
I kind of love that you brought this up, because this is something that has helped me really within the past few weeks. Staying motivated, I think just having a routine, and that took me trying different things, and I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to implement new things into my routine. And by routine, I mean like my morning routine. Like as soon as I wake up, I always had issues of, getting out of bed and getting motivated.
Yeah.
And that was just part of because I was just doing all the wrong things. And so and trying something new in that sense, I had to, find things that I could do every single morning that would get me ready for the day.
Right.
So
what's a day? What's it start like? How if you were trying to explain to somebody, here's what works for me. And what do you do, and how do you stick with it?
Well, first thing I do every morning, and this is what I do this because it wakes me up. It gets me ready. Is I take a shower first thing in the morning. Literally first thing I do when I get out of bed, I turn the shower on and I take a nice warm shower. It wakes me up, gets me ready for the day. After that, I immediately make myself some coffee and breakfast, and I use that to kind of get myself energized for the day. And then I take that, and then I start working. I start getting ready for my day. Getting dressed, brushing my teeth, all that stuff, and after doing that, I feel ready for my day. I immediately feel amazing.
Like you can conquer the world.
Exactly.
Right.
And I'm still working on trying to implement new things into my daily routine, such as journaling.
Okay.
Writing things down that I want to know in the future, such as my weight for the day. Any goals that I have for that day, it helps me kind of plan it out, and that was a new thing for me that. I had to get used to,
Right.
And in that sense, in terms of breaking bad habits,
Okay.
before every time when I wake up, the first thing I do is reach for my phone.
Yeah.
And I start scrolling through social media, and then, 20 minutes would pass, and I'm still scrolling through social media, laying in bed, getting nothing done.
Right. And I'd say that's huge right there.
Yeah.
And I think you talk to anybody, first of all, what is it, the blue screen that everybody's talking about?
For
nighttime?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it affects you as much as in the
morning.
morning.
But
nighttime for sure.
Talking about minimizing the phone time, the first thing that you shouldn't do is get up and grab for that phone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And people can make excuses all they want why they should be grabbing for their phone, but you need to get your body, your mind ready for that day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying don't get to it at some point, because there's reasons to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
But so often we in the night on the phone,
Yeah.
and immediately we're back on it,
Mm-hmm.
and that will completely kind of hold you right where you're
Mm-hmm.
at. And if we're talking about trying new things and making changes, you've got to change something.
Yeah.
And that might, I know so many people, that's exactly how they end their day and they start their day.
Yeah.
And that might be the one change that could change everything.
That might be something that they're doing all day, which they probably need to minimize.
That's true.
And I just told you not too long ago, I deleted some of my social media accounts that I don't necessarily need because I feel like it's a waste of time. It's a bad habit. It's that dopamine you get every time you
and
refresh.
that's a real thing for sure. Yeah, it is addictive, and I think there's positives to this new world, this new social media world, and everything that it can do for us and be connected. Obviously, we're going to use a lot of the outlets, for this media group, but for me, I don't like having anything that just is my idol or holds me, that controls me.
Yeah.
Like I want to be in control of myself. So if I have to get up and check to see how many notifications I have that day.
Hate it.
Yeah,
Can't stand
and there's just so much. It's not real.
Yeah.
Like if I don't have those notifications, do I feel like less of a person?
Yeah.
And I think you do. I think you start to grasp a hold of this counting method of, am I successful by the likes? I think what Instagram just implemented.
They got rid of the likes.
Yeah, they got rid of the likes. How many people are going to go into a spiral because of this content's not there anymore?
That's kind of Trojan horse, because they made it to where you can't see other people's likes, but you can see your own likes.
Well, you can I think click on.
Yeah, that's
you
what
can
I'm
still
saying.
go look at see how many likes I got. You got to do that. You got to add it up. You can
I
see
didn't know
like
that.
it'll say this post has been liked by 1,000 people or something like that, or thousands.
Well,
of
if
people.
you go to your post and click on where it says likes,
Right.
you can see exactly how many people liked your photo.
Sure.
So.
No, I mean you can figure it out, and analytically, there's a whole business behind it, so they they have the information.
For sure.
For Instagram, it's a change, and it's going to take time. I think it's the right change, personally, because other than the analytics for advertisement and marketing, you should know as a person, like, people don't post the shitty parts of their day.
Yeah.
Like, that's when they're feeling good and when they're doing something fun and they want to show it off. You're showing off the good stuff. You don't drive, like, you shine up your nice car, you drive it down on Sunday with the top down, you want to show it off.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like on social media. I mean, no one's posting anything about
And I think we've
bad part.
We've all fallen into that trap. I think
Sure.
I'm a little better about it. I try not to post on social media as much. I
That's a good
like to
point.
thank my
It's
parents
trying.
for that, not letting me have social media so early
Right.
in my life. And now the kids these days, they're getting social media at like 10 years old.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And I don't want to get into a parenting concept or a conversation, but I think if we're talking about how to help this situation is you're going to be on your phone throughout the day, and we get that. And this is just a step, right? It's not overnight success. It's step by step. This is chapter 1 of the project. Yeah. If we were to stop the podcast right now and say, all right, this is what you could take from it, try not to be on your cell phone, an hour before you go to bed, and then also get your day started. Like you said, you got the shower running, you got your coffee started, maybe you got some breakfast going. Mm-hmm. You need time to let your brain compute what you need to do, not what other people are doing in their life.
Exactly. That's a great point. And I think, this past, we've been talking about 30 minutes now. We've brought up a lot of topics. We've brought up food. We've brought up daily routines. We've brought up social media. I think that's a lot of things we might end up actually talking about and going more in depth in later podcasts. So I like that segment a lot. I think, are you ready to transition into kind of the open and talking about that? We're talking about trying new things, and the open, which is a CrossFit annual thing, is a great place to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue in trying new things. For a lot of people, the open is a whole new thing. Mm-hmm. Of course, I've been doing CrossFit for, let's say 7 years now, a little over 7 years, or 8 years. 2012, we're getting to 2020, so almost 8 years. And of course, I've pretty much done the open every year except for that first year. I came in right at the open, and the open is really that place that I see a lot of athletes in our gym try something new, and they get faced with that opportunity that on a everyday basis, they're not, I can't do a pull-up. I'm never going to be able to do a pull-up. Or I can't clean that much weight. I can do 65 pounds, but I've never tried 75 pounds. And then they get that workout in the open that's like, if you're going to RX it, it's at 75 pounds. And there's pros and cons to this, right? Are we pushing outside of our element and we're not ready yet? Or what I love about this is for a lot of those athletes that haven't really pushed that envelope and tried that first pull-up or tried that first muscle-up. And we're not just talking about scaled athletes. We're talking about RX athletes, like a muscle-up. And they find so many times that they're a lot closer than what they thought. A lot closer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So
just takes a little bit of work after the fact, really.
You got that stuff pulled up from Waldwell over there? As he's pulling that up, we're going to talk about some numbers here on the open, and not only on the grand scale worldwide, and we're gonna cite, I believe it's Waldwell. Are we gonna look through?
No,
CrossFit.
CrossFit.com.
Sorry, CrossFit.com has it through Sugar Wad. He's gonna pull it up. I'm gonna drop a line for him.
Some barbell something.
He'll pull it up. So we're gonna be able to dive into some numbers here, and
so before we get into that, I kind of want to know, what were your thoughts on the open as a whole? What was it, compared to other years? We saw a lot of difference, especially in that last week. But we had like 3 20-minute workouts.
Right.
We had a repeat that was the shortest workout, I think, 9 minutes. Yeah.
Diane.
Yeah.
So now doing this, and this was like my 7th Open. Unfortunately, I didn't get to finish the Open. I got through the first 2 weeks and suffered a soccer injury. Pulled a hamstring. Done this before, and I got outside of my element. I went from goalie to forward. If you play soccer, you probably know what that is better than I do. But got out there, pulled a little hammy. So I didn't get to experience the whole thing, but I obviously was still coaching through it and working with our team and athletes. And so I thought from a bird's eye view, like this was one of the most fun programmed Opens of all time.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I think a lot of that is you always are kind of thinking like the most recent thing that's happened. And, 20.5 would be the most recent workout. And we've always looked at the 0.5, week 5, as like, this is going to separate the people that are really in it and the people that aren't in it mentally or emotionally. Yeah. And because week 5 always is terrible. Yeah. It is always
thrusters.
It's always been thrusters for as long as they've documented the Open or had the Open. We looked back to 2011. Yeah. And it's always been thrusters in some sort of combination. We've seen row, we've seen burpees.
It's usually like
chest to bars,
and muscle ups.
And by like that time, you're tired and you've been giving it all multiple times each week. And of course, for most of our athletes or all of them, like we're not moving to the next level or phase. We've got a couple qualifying athletes, but for the most part, it's like you just got to get this one done. Now we do an in-house competition, and that gives you a little more incentive, obviously, but I thought overall, like, the programming for this was just on point, fun. Also, the Open now, too, is kind of a bigger deal if you think about it. Like, it's pushing people into the games. Yeah, whereas it used to be just regional.
In every country gets that one athlete. We saw a ton of athletes last year, or I guess in August, that were, probably would have never saw.
Oh, right.
Being in competitive CrossFit competition, but they got to experience that, and it's something that I think can grow the sport.
Right.
You have countries who don't have a lot of CrossFit athletes that they see someone from their country go to the games, and they're like, huh, maybe I can do that.
Get them involved more. Yeah. No, I thought I liked it a lot. I think there's still more development as far as how it gets programmed for the games itself and how to involve that big a crowd without getting too repetitive. And, we'll see. I think, Dave Castro is the guy and has been, and I have nothing negative to say about how the program has went. And, of course, I don't think he was the one that was trying to change a whole lot. I'm not going to dive into all of that. But as far as this year's Open, I thought our athletes had a lot of fun. It was the second Open of the year, too. So I thought that was going to be kind of a negative thing. It's hard to do one Open in a year. It's really hard to do two. But we had as much involvement in the Open the second time around as we did the first time around.
Yeah, I actually didn't do it at the beginning of this year. I was kind of in a lull there.
You were fresh.
But, real quick before let's talk about trying something new. This is the Open is kind of what got me into CrossFit because the 2018 Open was like 2 weeks after I joined CrossFit, and then I did. Everybody in the gym pushed me to do the Open, and that's kind of what made me fall in love with the sport.
Right.
Yeah. So 20.1.
Yeah, so 21.1 was 10 rounds for time, 8 ground to overhead, 95-65, and 10 bar-facing burpees with a 15-minute time cap.
Not my favorite.
No, and I think this was backwards, right? This is kind of what you expect from week 5.
Yes.
And you got it week 1, which I don't think is a negative thing. I think people are pumped up, and everybody was...
It's very CrossFit.
Yes. Yeah. And I'd say that about the whole Open, really.
Except for that last workout, pretty much.
Well... Very much like CrossFit, but like not in the Open CrossFit. So I don't know. I mean, I think if you do your every day at your gym, you're like, this is pretty cool. Now, we've done a lot of team and programmed a lot of partner workouts that have had that factor in before. So it wasn't completely new to us, but it was completely a shock for the Open. So what's some rundown on that?
So according to, this is again from CrossFit.com, in the men division, 24% RX'd it and finished it,
Okay.
while 66 got RX'd and capped. That's of all the people that did the Open. Only 10% of the men scaled the workout, which I think it makes sense. It's a workout a lot of people can RX. Whatever your skill level is, the weight's not too heavy, and you can clean and jerk it, as well as it's just
you can snatch it, clean and jerk it. I think for most average athletes, and however you want to define that, I guess would be like your RX athlete, but again hasn't competed at the highest level. Yeah. We found that clean and jerk was our best strategy at the gym.
Oh yeah, for sure.
More consistent.
We had athletes who started out with that snatch, going all the way through, and then they did it again and did the clean and jerk and got a better score. For sure, at the lower level, every day, gym goers, clean and jerk's definitely the way to go. Yeah. And on the flip side of that, I said the men's stats. For women, it was 15% finished RX. 64% got capped RX, and then only 21% did it scale. So we saw a little more of the women scale the workout.
Yeah.
Overall across the board.
I think that's just the weightlifting there. This doesn't apply to everybody. I don't think it's just a general statement, but you see more guys get a little bit more involved in the weightlifting side initially. Yeah. It's not always the case, but maybe there's where the weight obviously would have been, I think, the biggest factor with the overhead positions. So,
all right.
Week 2, we saw complete as many rounds as possible in 20 minutes of 4 dumbbell thrusters, 6 toes to bar, 24 double unders. This was a set of 50-pound dumbbells for the guys, 35 for the girls. And this was the last workout I got to actually compete in.
Did you not do 20.3?
I did not. That was I was out by then. So it's been out.
Wow.
That was Diane, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was literally the next. Well, so that week it was released, and we were going to be short on people on Sunday. Yeah. So I was supposed to do the workout Sunday. Yeah. And I went to the game instead. Yeah. And that's when I pulled my hamstring. Right. Yeah. Well, I couldn't do it. We had to measure. Yeah. It was too hectic. I was never going to get warmed up. And I've done that workout before. Mm-hmm. But this was the last one I got to do this year. And I thought, man, I thought this was a fun workout. Yeah. And I'm not real good at toes to bar. I would say I'm pretty solid at double unders. And dumbbell thrusters, I don't know if anybody's like, hey, that's my favorite. Yeah. But as far as the low volume and just the kind of switching it up consistently, I thought this was fun. But, of course, it was only one of 2.
And the thrusters, they weren't as hard as I thought they were going to be. For me, it was double unders. The double unders were miserable.
We did this one
single set.
Pretty much side by side. You were across the rig from me.
Yeah, that first time.
Yeah, my only time. Well, I only did this one once.
Yeah, I repeated, did a little bit better. But for this one, we see a little bit more people scale it at 17% for the men and 37% for the women. A little bit more technical of a workout, with the toes to bar and double unders.
Yeah. You add some technique. You add, and I know it's not heavy for that 4 reps, but it's definitely some people with the overhead position, really the squat position, the front rack position, will struggle for some folks. But I think why the numbers are still pretty low is people can work through that 4 reps and give themselves a shot. And of course, you go into the gymnastics. I mean, that's going to hold back a lot of people at some point. The gymnastics, I think, are the toughest, but the toes to bar start to knock some people off. But you usually see a gradual increase of scaled numbers as the weeks go on. Yeah. So that's pretty typical.
Yeah. All right. 20.3.
Week 3 was the repeat of Diane into a heavy version of Diane with handstand walk. So 21 deadlifts, 21 handstand push-ups, 15, 9. And then that went up to 315 from the 225 for the guys. The girls' weights were, what were they? Let's see. The girls' weights, instead of 225 with a 155, and then it went up to 205 with the handstand walk. So this one I didn't get to perform this year. The year I did it, I got into the handstand walks, and oddly enough, I think as a whole, the gym didn't do as well this year.
Well, for me, so this is actually my best performance in this workout. I performed in the 80th percentile for this workout. That was my highest performance.
Nice.
And the interesting thing about that is in 2018, we just talked about how that was my first open. I just started CrossFit. I did not complete this workout scaled. And for this one, I got to the 315. I think it was 5 reps at 315.
Oh, this year.
Yeah. So that for me was really cool to see that improvement.
Right.
You know, it's so drastic. Not even being able to finish scaled to getting so far in RX.
Yeah. So you did it scaled, and it was at 135 with push-ups.
Yeah.
And then went to bear crawls at 185.
Yeah.
What was it that year? Was it the weight that slowed you down
For
at
sure,
the time?
yeah. I mean, the for me, I was still really light, and
Right.
so the push-ups and the bear crawls were nothing. But I think I got to the 185, but that was really heavy for me at the time, you know. And now being able to get through the first 21:15.9 at 225, that was, you know, you see how the improvement there.
What were the numbers on that one?
So for this, actually really similar to 20.2. 17% of the men scaled it, while 38% of the women scaled it. So very similar to 20.2.
Right, and I'm sure that changes for some people. Like toes to bar might not have been in the ballpark for some athletes, but then handstand push-ups could have been. I mean, normally not the case, but
that's kind of interesting how the numbers. I figured they would be a little bit lower considering, you know, that you have that skill of that handstand push-up.
Yeah.
Especially with that standard. And then the weight is pretty heavy.
Well, as long, you know, now handstand push-ups have been in for a couple of years now, so I think gyms are preparing for that.
Yeah.
You know, they're definitely understanding that that's potential, and athletes see that as well, so it's definitely been worked on. Let's see, a 20.4, 4-time was 30 box jumps, 15 clean and jerks, 30 box jumps, 15 clean jerks, 30 box jumps, 10, 30, 10, 35, 35. And this is where we saw an increase of, there was also, I was looking at scaled, the pistols come into play. So you go from box jumps to the single leg squats. The weight increases each time, and the volume starts to decrease every 2 rounds. So another one I thought, now I didn't get to do this one, but I thought on paper, and they allowed for step-ups, looked pretty fun. Now that's somebody that can do pistols.
Was easily my favorite workout, not just because of the format. And you know, I like how at a certain point you know where you'll be able to get to. For most people, they're gonna hit a weight where they can't do it anymore, and then so they know what to aim for. For me, it was the 225. The most I've done on a clean and jerk is 210. So I know if I got to the 225, I probably wasn't gonna be able to lift it. Right. So therefore, 160 was my target in terms of reps. And I made it. You know, by the skin of my teeth, but I made it.
Right.
You know, and I think that's why you see this week. We see a little bit more people RX it because they know there's a certain amount they can get to. So for the men, it was 12%, while the women, it was 24%.
And that's scaled.
Scaled.
So the scaled actually dropped.
Yeah.
And now I've seen that in week 5 quite often because, like I said, it would go to thrusters and burpees. Like most people, depending on the weight, are going to go back and RX that. But this one was built to where you had a certain tier that you were going to get to, you know, like you said, and a goal. And at the same time, somebody fairly new that has the movements down, you know, they've been in here for a year. So there was also opportunity for trying something new, potentially a PR. And I think you see the videos all the time in the social media outlets of people hitting those PRs in the open. It happens so often. I've done it before a couple of years ago with my snatch. And again, on a day-to-day basis, I just didn't feel like I could get that lift. Got amped up, tired as hell in a workout, and still got the PR. So that was always fun.
All right, 20.5.
And week 5, where, again, the fun doesn't stop and the creativity didn't stop. Because this was something never seen before in the open. 4-time, partitioned anyway. Now, if you've been doing CrossFit for a while, this is not something new in CrossFit. Like if you're in your box, I think you've seen a workout like this potentially. At least we have. And what we see here is 40 muscle ups, 80 calorie row, and 120 wall balls. If this was in order, like a chipper, the scaled numbers would shoot through the roof.
For sure.
But I think this is going to be another one. And I haven't even looked at the numbers yet. You're going to give them here in a second. I think the scaled numbers are probably going to stay pretty similar, if not drop.
Yeah. Well, actually, we see that the numbers are a little bit close to that 20.1. We have 11% scaled for the men and 22% for the women.
So it dropped from the week prior, though.
Yeah. Not as much as 20.1, but close.
Right.
In terms of how many. We saw a lot of people RX this workout.
And that's a muscle-up workout.
Yeah, and you know what? The Games website, they actually give a stat for how many people RX'd it and got to the 200 reps. So got to 200 reps and weren't able to do a muscle-up. We saw 22% that RX'd it, got to the muscle-ups, but weren't able to get any. Males, and then 59% for the women.
Yeah, and that's, we see that in our gym here, kind of the golden trophy, the movement that women definitely chase is that muscle up, the ring muscle up. Even our gymnast girls, because they don't do rings as females, they deal with bars, and so we get a lot of ex-gymnast girls to come in and can get on the bars pretty quick. It's the rings that they're unfamiliar with. In some cases, again, it's fairly general to say, but that kind of supports that theory. What, 59% you said?
Yeah, compared to 22% in the men.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an upper body movement there. Again, it's something. Now we've got male athletes that need to work on their transitions quite a bit, and again, this is going to be something where we had a couple athletes too that had never even tried a muscle up, and they're not far. We now know that they need to work on some transitions with their hands, and I think they're right around the corner as far as getting their muscle up.
And I'm sure in boxes around the world, there were plenty of people who tried their muscle up for the first time and got it. You know, this is a big time that happens. So I think that wraps up all the workouts for the Open. I think we're going to move in a little bit of our gym stats and our team Open.
Well, I'd like to say, too, just to kind of cite that there, that was at what, CrossFit.com?
CrossFit.com.
If you're looking for those numbers, you can, and that's supported by, what does that say right there? CrossFit. Oh, okay. It's Beyond the Whiteboard. Yeah. So CrossFit uses Beyond the Whiteboard there, and you can find all those numbers and more on the Open if you're interested in that. So check out CrossFit.com. So for those that are in the gym now, we're going to go over some inner box stuff. For those that aren't, for those that aren't in the box, this is kind of interesting. We do an open team effort. So we had 60 athletes register through us in the Open, and we then draft them out to teams and team leaders, and it's a random draft. And so we had 5 teams this year of 12 apiece. And we're going to go over the numbers here. A lot of our box members have been waiting on the final stats. Now, Team 2 for us had won this by week 4. And they dominated. It just happened to be. So this is the final week that we're going to talk about the Open here and the numbers. The final results for just that week, Team 4 actually finished first this week with 2,702 points. Now, the point system, for those that don't know, we have a Friday Night Lights. You get points for judging, theme, whatever that theme was that week, and then also repeat bonuses. So there's other ways to score for this other than just putting up the score itself. We saw Team 2 place in second place with 2,570 points. Team 1 ended up in third this week with 2,533. Team 3 ended up fourth with 2,410. And Team 5 with 2,350 ended up fifth for that week.
And that was our team.
That was our team. That was our team. We started off pretty hot. Team 2 just, did not have a weakness throughout this Open at all.
Yeah. They were a solid team.
As far as some of the bonus goes, the most we saw in repeats this week, which was down a little bit. Of course, it's week 5. 30 points. 3 teams were able to get 2 athletes repeat and improve. The highest scoring was Team 2 with 30. Of course, that's another reason why they won. Not only did they pretty much dominate the reps, they did all the extra work. And that's a big thing in our inner box Open. Judging points, they were second, but the leader for that was Team 3 with 54. Judging points. And then the leader for Friday Night Lights, we had 3 teams tie it with 50 points. So we saw a lot of interaction. We saw a lot of support for this Open, inner box Open competition. And so the overall standings, what a lot of people are waiting for, because we knew Team 2 had wrapped it up. A lot of people want to know where their team fell. So Team 2 ended up first and takes home the golden trophy, the half-broken golden trophy that we made, with 7 points. Team 4 ends up in a second place with 11 points, and they only ended up 4 points back, but was not close enough by week 5 to really make a run at it, even though they took first there. Team 5 ends up in third place with 17 points. And then Team 3 and Team 1 actually tie for fourth, I guess you will, with 20 points. Only 3 points behind Team 5. So pretty close run there in the back end, a decent close run in the front end, but Team 2 just overpowered everybody.
Never fell below second place.
Never. So. Team 2 never took a worse position than second throughout the open, and or at least in the inner box competition. Yeah. And so congratulations to Team 2 on taking your victory. Team 4, way to be the first loser, I guess they call it. But no, I mean, everybody here puts together an effort. And we also talked about doing a DAL trophy, and now I got to figure out how to put 2 teams on
DAL.
Dead ass last.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So people were requesting that, so we'll have to see how we do that.
Well, we have 2 teams.
We got 2 teams. I had to do a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So that is our results for those that are listening that competed at CrossFit Willis here in Willis, Texas, and so you can check that out on the podcast. All right, guys, thanks for listening to the Olympian Project. There's a couple places you can find us, and where is that, Gary?
Yep, if you want to check us out on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, those are the places you can listen to the podcast. Obviously, YouTube has more content that we'll be releasing, as well as our Instagram. We should have some exclusive content going up on Instagram as well. And then if you want to support the Olympian Project and help us to continue to make these wonderful little podcasts of ours, go to patreon.com/Olympian Project and go support us. And I think that's going to be how you access the bonus content, such as bonus episodes of the podcast, as well as get the episodes a little bit early if you're just itching to hear us talk a little bit more.
Who doesn't want to hear us talk sooner than later?
All right, guys.
Take it easy.